Part 86. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich John Word. Chapter 851. Chapter 851, There is a different feeling between losing face by oneself and losing it by others. Although Lu Jing was usually shameless, that was because he had lost that face himself. The face thing. The feeling of what you have lost is different from what others have lost. You can be simply happy if you feel embarrassed by yourself, but the feeling is different when someone else humiliates you. This feeling is like feeling that you are the wrong person. So when he got home, Lu Jing went to find his father expressionlessly. "Dad, do you know what you did? And what's wrong with you recently? You didn't care about my affairs before, so why are you suddenly starting to care about my affairs now? Do you know? You really embarrass me by doing this." A lot of faces. But after hearing this, Father Lu just said lightly, "But when you learned about what I did before, you were not dissatisfied at all, and you were very happy, and you even went to find them. What you mean is that you don't actually resent me doing this, but it's just that it doesn't do any good in the end, and it makes you a little disappointed in the end." These words. Lu Jing couldn't help but scratch his head. As a father, how could Father Lu not know what kind of temper his son was, so he snorted coldly, "Hey, I don't know what to say. When I gave birth to my son, I was still thinking about giving birth to a son. Yes, at least it's like your mother, but I really didn't expect that your IQ is like your mother's, hey." But after Lu Jing heard this, he immediately lost his composure. "What do you mean? Why do you call me like my mother? Please explain it clearly to me. Although my mother went to play mahjong and was not at home, don't think that my mother I don't know. You brat, do you know what you are talking about? What do you want to do? Are you rebelling? If you want to rebel, just say so, I won't beat you to death." But Lu Jing was not afraid at all when he heard this. "Dad, you are afraid. If you are afraid, don't be like this. What you are doing now will only embarrass me. Your son and I will have to hang out outside anyway. Yes, how can I get along with you like this? Haha, do you think I'm like you and don't know anything? Yes, I did it on purpose." Father Lu chuckled after saying this, but he didn't expect to see Lu Jing's disdain. He looked like this, and immediately reached out and hit Lu Jing the head. "What are you doing? What's the expression on your face? You have been chasing Lan Min for so many years. Is Lan Min and her man the same? Li Baikan is at odds with you. If you don't be a little bit gentle, will they really treat you right?" But when Lu Jing heard this, he glanced at his mouth and said, "I knew this reason, so I acted stupid in front of Sunian and Sun Ying. Now Dad, it's better for you to be like this. It's better for you to be like this. Our whole family is like fools." When Lu Jing said this, Father Lu didn't say anything. He just looked at him indifferently, just looking at him like this. Such a look really made Lu Jing feel very angry. "What are you looking at me with, Dad? You can only make others think that we, father and son, are stupid. We are as stupid as the whole family, do you know?" The more he said this, the more angry Lu Jing became. If word spread, he really feels that he will never be able to marry a wife in this life. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich John Word. Chapter 852. Chapter 852. Father Lu's hope. The reason why Lu Jing thinks so. Because if he is just stupid, then people outside may think it is his personal fault, but if his own father is like this, then others may think it is a genetic problem. If word spreads about it, how can any good people like him? Do you really think that everyone is as stupid as you? I think that after managing the Lu family for many years, I really have no brains. If I was really like this, then how could our Lu family have existed for so many years? It has been a long time ago. We were eaten. Even after I met Sun Ying'er and Sunian, the families behind them would take action against us, but now there is no so-called movement. Why do you think it is? Lu Jing began to think carefully when he heard this. When Father Lu saw his son, he sighed inwardly. He really doesn't dare to count on his son in this life. Hope that his future grandson will be a little more reliable. Although there is a saying that, if the mother is upset, the father is upset. How to say, hope a little hope. It is better to have hope than no hope. If you really meet a good daughter-in-law in the future, you may be able to bring your own genes with her. Although he also knew that this hope was really slim. It is also for this reason that in the eyes of Sun Ying'er and others, I am just a father who worries a lot about his son. In order to make his son a child, I can do anything. For my pitiful sake, how could I not trust you? Lu Jing thought of how Sunian and Sun Ying'er laughed at him, and couldn't help but said, then they laugh at me. When Lu Jing said this, Father Lu walked directly in front of him and gave him a big sinus without hesitation. Shouldn't they laugh at you? Should they laugh at me? Look at you, look, isn't it normal for them to laugh at you? I do this to leave a good impression on you. It's for your long-term plans, not your current plans. Why are you anxious? You won't be able to perform well. You will slowly gain their attention. I agree, as a father, I have gone to this point for you, and you are still such a waste, you are really hopeless. Now Father Lu looks at Lu Jing with eyes full of disgust. After all, for such a simple matter, my father still needs to take action. Let the father take action and ask questions. If he wasn't afraid that Lu Jing would kick him out of the house at night, then he really wanted to beat this guy. He really didn't live up to his expectations. Thinking of this, Father Lu said directly, okay, please stop dangling in front of me, get out of here as far as you can, don't dawdle in front of me like this, it makes me really upset just like that. Lu Jing once again. He was rejected by his own father. Come outside. Lu Jing was really aggrieved. What kind of thing is this? Why do all people despise themselves? Go to the street. Lu Jing couldn't help but reflect on himself. Reflect on why you are like this. You must know that ordinary people want to be rich and powerful, worth tens of billions. Why am I so unhappy even though I am such a person? Why would God do this to me? Lu Jing looked at the sky with anger when he thought of this. God, why do you treat me like this? Why are you so unfair, you? But Lu Jing didn't say anything, when a thunder suddenly struck down. Now Lu Jing has other ideas. I can only apologize to God. I'm sorry, God, I really made a mistake. I was just joking, simply joking. Don't be angry. Don't be angry. The evening news in this region broadcasts such a news that night. A man was talking nonsense in the street. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 853. Chapter 853. I hope Lu Jing can do something serious. When Sun Ying'er received a call from Lu's father, she suddenly understood what it means to eat someone with a short mouth and take advantage of someone with short hands. No wonder Lu Jing's father is so embarrassed. It turned out to be waiting for me here. So when she saw Lu Jing with a grieved face, she sighed deeply. And son, please don't be like this. The more you act like this, it really makes me feel. Sun Ying'er really felt in her heart that she was so ignorant now, so ignorant. She didn't know that Lu Jing's father had such an idea, and she still felt in her heart that like a son, like a father. If given the opportunity to ask Lu Jing for help, or even hand Lu Jing into someone else's hands, Sun Ying'er felt that she would never give it up because of something extraneous. Well, your father told me that you have recently become interested in the company's affairs. Your behavior is very good. I hope you can continue it. Lu Jing was really a little stunned when he heard this. After all, he thought he was brought here for news. Lu Jing really didn't expect that he could be caught by the camera just wandering around the street, and even make the news. Of course, he also made a decision in his heart, deciding which news agency he wanted to acquire. And let the headline of that news agency praise him for half a month, no, half a year. I thought that Sun Ying-er would definitely take this opportunity to laugh at herself, or even humiliate herself, but she really didn't expect that she would praise herself. And Sun, are you really praising me like this? Why do I feel like you're not praising me? It's really weird for you to be like this. You. Sun Ying-er couldn't help but sneer in her heart. She didn't expect that this guy was really praising me. You can hear yourself speaking sarcastically. But of course Sun Ying-er knew that her taunting was of no use. What she said just now was not meant to be sarcastic, but to encourage. That's right, it's encouragement. Sun Ying-er used her lifelong acting skills to make her expression serious at this moment. Lu Jing, I am also your aunt. I think I can say something to you. I really hope you can focus on business. If a man becomes more responsible, then I believe that many women will like him. Do you want to be alone for the rest of your life? Lu Jingzhe shook his head when he heard this. No, I really don't hope at all. I actually feel that you were really handsome when you were working hard a few days ago. You are so handsome. If you work hard and strive hard, I believe you will become the most attractive man. Lu Jing, if you work hard, you will be attractive. Isn't it? You and Huo's wealth are actually about the same. Why did Lan Min choose Huo Linyuan? What's the difference between you and Huo Linyuan? Think about it carefully. Even to put it unpleasantly, you can't do anything like this. If you don't do it, what will you do if you encounter such a situation in the future? Do you really not want to hold the beauty back? As expected, Lu Jing shook his head crazily after hearing this. And you kept saying that your father is responsible for the company's affairs before. Isn't your father a little old now? I don't want to curse your father. What if one day you really need to take charge of yourself, and Huo Linyuan's methods? It's not that you don't know, you are really not afraid that Huo Linyuan will. That's right, she just hopes that this guy can do some serious things and not have time to do those messy things. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich John Word. Chapter 854. Chapter 854 Sun Ying-er's Good Intentions. Lu Jing didn't think it was anything when he heard Sun Ying-er say other things. Even felt that Sun Ying-er might be alarmist. But when he heard Huo Linyuan, he immediately lost his composure. What are you talking about? Would Huo Linyuan really do this? Is he really that courageous? Sun Ying-er knew she had found the right solution when she saw Lu Jing like this. Now Sun Ying-er really feels a little stupid. Why couldn't I think of such a method before? In the eyes of Lu Jing, if it weren't for Huo Linyuan, that woman Lan Min would definitely choose him, so Huo Linyuan is his enemy, an absolute enemy. If you want to use Huo Linyuan to stimulate Lu Jing, then it will definitely be possible. If there was an opportunity to annex the Huo family and Lan Min away, would you give up this opportunity? Lu Jing immediately shook his head. No, how could I give up this opportunity? Not only would I not, maybe I would cherish this opportunity. Sun Ying-er was a little satisfied now. This Lu Jing is a bit silly. But I still know a little bit about the affairs of various aristocratic families. Lu Jing, if I remember correctly, you are 25 this year. If you round up, you will be 30. They say you stand at 30. Do you really want to be like this? And Sun, did you say that? Don't you really think this is a bit too exaggerated? Why do you think I am exaggerating? What I say is obviously the actual situation. You don't have to believe it, but you have to bear the consequences of not believing it. Can you really bear this consequence? Are you not as good as Huo Linyuan in this life? Do you hope that your descendants will not be as good as Huo Linyuan? You have been suppressed by Huo Linyuan in this life. Do you think you want such a life, or are you just willing to live such a life? If you really want to live such a life, then what I say to you now is nonsense, so just treat my words as if they mean nothing. Sun Ying didn't even take a breath when saying this in order to achieve the effect. But it is still useful to talk like this. Lu Jing looked at Sun Ying blankly, and son, what you said makes sense, quite reasonable. If that's the case, then you know what you should do. I know, thank you very much, thank you for telling me this. Lu Jing turned around and left after saying this. Sun Ying looked at Lu Jing's back and wondered if it was a bit of an illusion. She actually felt that this Lu Jing was a little mature. Sun Ying smiled softly when she thought of this. If possible, then she really hopes that Lu Jing can become mature. In this way, Lu Jing did not appear in front of Sun Ying for the next 3 days. That's right, it's 3 days. Why is there so much emphasis on 3 days? Exactly 3 days later, Lu Jing appeared in front of Sun Ying again. And he looked pitiful again. This pitiful look really made Sun Ying feel like her scalp was numb. It really felt like her scalp was numb. What happened again? I don't know how to deal with the company's affairs, Lu Jing said aggrievedly. This aggrieved look really made Sun Ying speechless. You don't know how, why are you asking me? If you encounter something you don't know how to do, shouldn't you go to your father and let your father teach you? End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 855. Chapter 855 Lu Jing's toughness. But it would be better if Sun Ying didn't say this. After Sun Ying said this, Lu Jing felt even more aggrieved. I went, but my bad old man told me to get out. Sun Ying she also had the same idea and wanted to tell Lu Jing to get out. But Sun Ying's words haven't been spoken yet. Lu Jing was the first to say, and son, what do you mean? Do you also want me to get out? Sun Ying nodded. But when Lu Jing heard this, he suddenly lost his composure. What do you mean by that? Besides, I have already asked my old man to kick him out. How can you bear to ask me to get out again? Do you really have a conscience like this? I told you to go away, how can it involve your conscience? What do you mean? You are trying to cheat. Let me tell you, I don't accept cheating. I'm in such a miserable state, can you really bear it? Oh, can you really bear it? Tolerance, very forbearance, super forbearance. Lu Jing. But Sun Ying couldn't help but want to ask, to be honest, even if your father really drives you away, there is no need for you to come to me. Unexpectedly, Lu Jing would ask very rudely when he heard this, and son, please tell me who I should go to and what kind of teaching I should find. How to say it? Sun Ying fully understands Lu Jing's current situation. Indeed, as far as Lu Jing's current situation is concerned. Then why are you looking for me? Do you think I understand? It would be great if I really understood. I don't know anything and need to learn slowly. You have been with me for so long, you know what I'm capable of. Who knows? After Sun Ying said this, Lu Jing shook his head. I know your ability, but there are really too many things I need to learn now. I really can't feel at ease by myself, so I want to be by your side, and son, so that when I see your appearance, and son, maybe I will be infected too. In this case, I will study hard. Lu Jing looked at the documents in the office. Really? It's a headache. He even felt that his head was going to explode. If it had been before, Lu Jing might have given up directly, but what happened to Sun Ying this time made him have to be honest. Humo Linyuan has eaten him to death in his entire life. You can't let your son do this. Lu Jing thought of a way. After all, Sun Ying'er is so powerful. I always feel ashamed when I am around Sun Ying'er. Only in this way can we be better able to work hard. And son, I really have no choice now, that's why I thought of this solution. And son, do you really want to see my son, my grandson, and my great-grandson suppressed by Huo Linyuan? If Huo Linyuan could live to the age of your great-grandson, he would become an old goblin, Sun Ying'er complained coldly. But he didn't expect that. Lu Jing waved his hand directly after hearing this. These are not important, anyway, this is the logic, and son, you are the only one who can save me now, and even the future of our entire Lu family depends on you. If you don't agree, then our Lu family will really be doomed. When Sun Ying'er heard this, she couldn't help complaining, what do you mean by this? Are you trying to kidnap people morally? I didn't expect that. It would be better if Sun Ying'er didn't say this. When Sun Ying'er finished saying this, Lu Jing nodded seriously, yes, I am morally kidnapped like this. And son, do you have any opinion? Sun Ying'er really has never seen a person who can explain moral kidnapping so directly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich John Word. Chapter 856. Chapter 856. Mo Bao starts to learn to walk. As time passes slowly, Mo Bao can speak more and more words. Now I can only walk without learning. Sunian and Li Baikan tacitly gave up their work matters during this period, and both stayed with Mo Bao, watching over him as he slowly learned to walk. After all, for Sunian and Li Baikan, there is nothing more important than calligraphy. And they were born again after all. This is equivalent to God giving them another chance. If this is the case, then how could they be delayed by other so-called things? Just like that, on a sunny afternoon, the family of three were on the lawn. Mo Bao, come on, come on, come to mother, come on, come on, come to mother. Mo Bao stood unsteadily. He tried hard to move his legs. But it's really not easy. Mo Bao raised his head and glanced at his mother in the distance. I feel in my heart that the more I feel like this, the less I can let my mother down. But he didn't expect the next moment and fell down directly. It fell down as soon as it fell. I didn't expect to hear laughter. Mo Bao looked over with laughter. Sure enough, I saw his short-lived father smiling. How can I like my father when he is like this? Li Baikan knew that he might have gone too far when he saw his son's puffy face. After all, Mo Bao is almost 1 year old now. In other words, I have been with this son for 1 year. How could he not understand his son's temperament? Then he quickly put away his smile, walked to Mo Bao's side, and helped him up from the ground. Okay, why are you pouting? You won't be angry just because you fell a few times, come on. Snored. Mo Bao, you won't tell dad that you are really so stingy, you are a man. Mo Bao immediately looked at his mother with his lips curled up. Why do you always speak to Mo Bao in such a tone? He is still a child. If you do this, Mo Bao will be angry. I just think that a man should. Sunian glared at Li Baikan fiercely. Li Baikan could only be honest after being stared at like this. After all, as a strict wife, how could he have the courage to go against his wife? Okay, it's all dad's fault, it's all dad's fault. Come on, dad will help you. How could Mo Bao let this father support him? Struggling away immediately. He is a man who will protect his mother in the future. How could he be defeated by such a simple thing? Absolutely not. Sunian saw the scene and glared at Li Baikan again. Now you are happy. You made Mo Bao angry like this. Are you really satisfied? Are you happy? It's not my fault this child's temperament is a bit too stubborn. I think this child is really bad. What's wrong with having a stubborn personality? Such a personality should be said to be independent and serious. What do you know? Li Baikan smiled. He naturally knew that in Sunian's eyes, this brat was good at everything. He quickly walked to Mo Bao's side. Hold Mo Bao on. In fact, the reason why Li Baikan didn't care about Mo Bao just now was because he felt that Mo Bao was a little too anxious. Learning requires patience. Don't worry, Dad, I'm supporting you like this. I know you are very smart, Mo Bao. You hope to learn quickly and let your mother praise you, but some things really don't need to be rushed. You need to learn slowly. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 857. Chapter 857. This dad is really stingy. Alright, Mo Bao admitted that he might be a little anxious. He always hopes to show his mother how strong he is. I always hope that in this life I can make my mother feel proud of herself and make her feel that her son is the smartest child in the world. He felt that this was the meaning of rebirth. In his previous life, he didn't understand those things when he was a child. When he grew up, he realized that his mother had taken on a lot for him. It could even be said that she had taken on things that she should never have taken on. Maybe this may be the so-called fate, but Mo Bao really doesn't want his mother to continue to have such a fate in this life. This is why Mo Bao knows that he should not blame God. After all, he has given himself a chance to be reborn. Don't be too greedy. If it's really greedy, then it's really bad. But sometimes it's still a bit annoying. Annoying, why is this happening? For example, in this matter, this so-called father actually took pleasure in his misfortune. There is obviously no child smarter than him in this world. Isn't it okay for a smart kid like him to be praised by his mother? That's really too much. Mo Bao felt that he had to be serious and let his father see what he was capable of. So I mustered up the courage and walked seriously. Li Baikan also started to get serious. Carefully guard the side. Sunian is next to you. Seeing such a picture, I couldn't help but sigh. Actually, God allowed me to be reborn, maybe because I saw that I had too many regrets in my previous life, that's why I did this and let everything happen again. Speaking of which, I was really a little too busy in my last life. Although I tried my best to give Mo Bao more love, I always felt that I was sorry for Mo Bao. For example, in my previous life, Mo Bao had to be accompanied by a servant when he learned to walk. These words made Li Baikan's body stiffen slightly. In fact, in his last life, when Mo Bao was learning to walk, not only was he accompanied by a servant, but he was by Mo Bao's side, but he was useless by Mo Bao's side. He just watched Mo Bao fall down again and again. He looked at Mo Bao crying. I wanted to comfort Mo Bao, but it was impossible for Mo Bao to hear him. Thinking of this, Li Baikan's attitude towards Mo Bao became even gentler. Be careful, take your time, don't be in a hurry, we are not in a hurry, we are not in a hurry, learn slowly, you must know that combination is a lifelong matter, if you learn it, you can play whatever you want in your life, and walking is easier than crawling. Mo Bao now really feels that his father's education is a kind of painting cake education. Always draw some cakes for yourself. Sometimes, Mo Bao really felt that his father was really stupid. After all, if he had not been reborn and was really a simple baby, how could he possibly understand these words? There is really no so-called brain at all. Li Baikan also noticed Mo Bao's eyes. What are you looking at me like this? What do you mean? It's as if you are saying that I will harm your father, you child. Humph, I just glanced at it casually. That's it, this dad is really stingy. At first, Mo Bao was still thinking that since his father was still alive, he would just give up. Now Mo Bao really feels that this father is really a bit desperate. It just so happened that when my mother got old in her previous life, she honestly lamented that she had not had many romantic encounters in her life. It's because of my father's attitude. His biological son also needs to be satisfied with his life. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 858. Chapter 858, Apologizing to the Wrong Person. Under Li Baikan's patient teaching. Mo Bao walked slowly. Let's go, I will help you. A gentle voice rang in Mo Bao's ears. Don't be afraid, you won't be hurt by being thrown, because no matter what happens to me, I won't let you have any problems, I will always be by your side to protect you. Even though Mo Bao's body is the soul of an adult, he keeps failing, and he still feels a little anxious in his heart. But when I heard this, I felt a little more at ease. After Li Baikan saw that Mo Bao was walking better than before, he slowly let go of his hand. Let go little by little. But just when he was about to let go completely, the little body suddenly tilted. When Li Baikan saw this, he immediately grabbed Mo Bao with quick eyesight and quick hands. Mo Bao was also a little worried when his body felt empty. But when a steady hand caught him, Mo Bao breathed a sigh of relief. And Li Baikan also felt that his son's fear was slowly disappearing, and the corners of his mouth could not help but raise. Yeah, Dad didn't lie to you, Dad will protect you well, Dad will not let you have problems, you have to trust Dad. When Mo Bao heard this, he turned his head and looked at his father. When I see my father's gentle look, his heart couldn't help but feel warm. Well, this dad has performed so well this time, so he can temporarily give up some so-called thoughts. But these thoughts are temporary. Go on. Maybe it's because I was a little too excited just now. This causes the calligraphy to float a little. This caused Mo Bao to fall again the next moment without stepping firmly on it. But this time Li Baikan didn't have time to hold him. This time, Mo Bao was thrown into the mud. When Li Baikan saw this, he quickly went up and picked up the calligraphy treasure. When I picked it up and looked at it, I immediately laughed. It's not that Li Baikan is an immoral father, but because Mo Bao is really funny like this. Not only is he covered in dirt, but his face is also covered in dirt. Mo Bao, asterisk. Okay, he took back his idea. This father is not good, very bad. I must find a good father for myself in this life. A very good dad. Sunian saw that Mo Bao had such a big fall, how could he pretend that he didn't see it, and walked over immediately. Mo Bao, how is Mo Bao, did Mo Bao fall somewhere, is he feeling uncomfortable? When Li Baikan heard Sunian's voice, he immediately said, I'm sorry, Nian, it's all my fault, it's all my fault for being careless. If I had been a little more careful, Mo Bao wouldn't be like this. Although he was just worried, Sunian was still somewhat rational. Why do you say that? It's just a normal thing for a child to fall when he is learning to walk. When Li Baikan said this, he really felt a little weird. He said it as if Mo Bao was not his child, but someone else's. Ded. When did I act like a tigress? When Li Baikan heard this, the smile on his lips slowly grew. Actually, he knew that Sunian would definitely not be like this, but he just said it subconsciously, and what Sunian was thinking at this moment was nothing more than recognition. But Mo Bao suddenly became unhappy at this time. You must know that he is the one who is thrown down. Shouldn't you apologize to yourself? This dad is really a bit too much, quite a bit too much. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 859. Chapter 859. This dad is really too much. This caused Lee Baiken to see a little stinky face when he turned his attention to his son again. What do you mean? Why do you feel that you have a bigger temper than your mother? Let me tell you, there can only be one person in our family who has a big temper, and then it can only be your mother. If you really want to have a bad temper, if so, then don't blame me for beating you. Sunian originally looked over when he heard Lee Baiken say that Mo Bao had a bad temper. But after hearing this, Sunian was left with nothing but black lines on his head. And glared at Lee Baiken fiercely, "Do you know what you are talking about?" Of course I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the rules of our family. I also hope that this brat can abide by the rules. If this brat really doesn't abide by the rules. Sunian really didn't expect that this shameless guy would continue to say, Lee Baiken. But in Lee Baiken's eyes, Sunian's behavior was completely coquettish and annoying. There is no so-called deterrence at all. How could Lee Baiken be afraid of such a situation? Not only is Lee Baiken not afraid. Even if this brat wasn't in his arms now, Lee Baiken might have put the little woman in his arms and made love with her. But when Lee Baiken thought of this, he looked at the calligraphy treasure in his arms. Now Lee Baiken really feels a little regretful. I regret why I was so impatient in the first place and why I had to take chances. If it was, then it might not be like this now. What a pity, this world has everything, but there is no so-called regret medicine. But Mo Bao suddenly lost his composure at this moment. What kind of look is this? This dad is really a bit too much. Obviously I said I would take good care of myself, but now I am like this. Not only that, I only care about my mother. Mo Bao was really a little doubtful now, wondering whether the man in front of him was his biological father. After all, no biological father would treat his son like this. This is really a bit too much. At this moment, the wind suddenly picked up. This directly made Sunian sneeze. Just this simple sneeze made this big and small man suddenly lose his composure. "Mom, are you cold?" Mo Bao said in a sweet voice. Sunian rubbed his nose. "Mo Bao, don't worry, Mom is not cold, not at all," but her nose suddenly feels itchy when she said this. Sunian gave her son a gentle smile. But this gentle smile was of no use to Mo Bao. How about going home? Sunian was really moved by Mo Bao's concerned look. As a man, Lee Baiken had to do something at this time. He immediately took off his coat and planned to put it on Sunian. But before he could put it on his body, he was directly rejected by Sunian. "Don't worry, I'm fine. The wind is blowing now. You took off your clothes suddenly like this. You should be careful like this. If you don't pay attention like this, if you do, you will catch a cold instead." But when Lee Baiken heard this, he didn't care at all. "Don't you know how powerful my body is? With this level of wind, how do you think anything could happen to me? Even if there is nothing wrong with your body, you still need to give Mo Bao money. After all, Mo Bao is so young. If Mo Bao gets sick, it will be really bad." But Lee Baiken put the clothes directly on her body. "Okay, don't worry, I have my own ideas." What else can Sunian do now? He can only be honest. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 860. Chapter 860 need to be a good example. After putting clothes on Sunian, Lee Baiken held the child tightly in his arms. Then he ran towards the house. Mo Bao, who was held in his arms, was really a little speechless. Is this the so-called method? Tear, Mo Bao is a little lucky that he is in good health. If his health were a little worse, he would really be angry. Is there something wrong with his father's brain? With so many servants at home, can't we just shout a few times? This dad is really unreliable at critical moments. The final result. It was Lee Baiken who started coughing. Lee Baiken is in good health, so he just has a simple cough. But that was before. It's different now. Now that we have Mo Bao, we need to know that the child's physical resistance is not very good to begin with, and Mo Bao is already so young. Sunian immediately took the child away after seeing Lee Baiken coughing. Go directly to the old house. Before leaving, he glanced at Lee Baiken. Obviously it was just a simple glance. But it made Lee Baiken really feel a little guilty. He didn't expect that he was so unsatisfied. Just a little wind will make me catch a cold. However, Lee Baiken didn't feel anything wrong in his heart. After all, Sunian and Mo Baishui couldn't help anyone get sick. After Sunian, mother, and son left, Lee Baiken fell asleep after taking the medicine. But before falling asleep, Lee Baiken naively thought that it would be fine if he woke up. After all, he really doesn't want to stay alone in an empty room. This feeling is really not good. Time passed slowly like this, and when Lee Baiken fell asleep, he felt hands on his forehead. Although Lee Baiken is sick now, he is still vigilant. I felt sober for a long time. Unexpectedly, he saw Sunian. Why are you here? Sunian was confused when he heard this. What do you mean? Why can't I be here? If I'm not here, where else would I be? What you said is really strange. But didn't you take Mo Bao to the old house? That's right, I just took Mo Bao to the old house, and then, couldn't I come back? Do you think I forgot that in addition to being a mother, I am also a wife? What I said is really funny, I feel very irresponsible. However, when he said this, he really felt as if Lee Baiken had been abandoned by others. Ha ha ha, I really want to see a bit of pity. When Sunian was complaining in his heart, Lee Baiken directly hugged the person into his arms. Even though Lee Baiken knew clearly that Sunian came back only because of responsibility. But he was still very happy. That's right, men need to be responsible for everything. But it's still a bit fragile when it's time to be vulnerable. Today, when Sunian was sending Mo Bao to her old house, something seemed to be going on in her heart, and she always felt a little uneasy. That feeling really gets more and more as we get closer to the old house. Now I see Lee Baiken like this. Sunian knew it was time to come back. This made Sunian couldn't help but said to Lee Baiken, I know you may dislike me for being a bit nagging, but I really want to say that it's really not good for you to be like this. Why do you feel so worried about me, Mo Bao? You are Mo Bao's father, I think you should set a good example for Mo Bao. End of this chapter.